Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for coming out on a lovely day. I don't think we could have ordered better weather if we tried. My name is Lori Leduc, and I am part of the Friends of the Shakespeare Gardens, and I'd like to welcome you here today, and thank you very much for joining us on this special occasion, the 90th anniversary of the opening of the Stratford Shakespeare Gardens. It was in May of 1936, the Lord Tweedsmuir, the Governor General of Canada, His Excellency came here along with his wife to open the gardens to great fanfare. And this created a time of great visionary leadership under R. Thomas Orr. And we'd like to recognize members of the Orr family who are here with us today. So thank you very much for coming. We have a few remarks from some dignitaries and individuals. And the first person I'd like to call upon to introduce our land acknowledgement is Scott Tilson. Scott Tilson was born in Toronto and has lived in many Ontario towns wearing a variety of hats. The poet hat was found as he was going through a recovery program about 5 years ago. Even though he had never written poetry before, much to his surprise, poetry started to flow, and it has never stopped. The past 3 Truth and Reconciliation Days provided eye-opening evidence that an inscription was to be written on the poet hat. Therefore, he became an Indigenous poet. So I welcome Scott very much to come to the microphone and have a land acknowledgement, but also a special poem that he has written for the occasion of the 90th birthday.
I'd like to call in the 4 directions and the spirits to bless this arrangement. Grandfather? Yes, child. What does dish with 1 spoon mean? Grandfather answers, the dish is all that Mother Earth supplies us with, and the spoon means we share it with everyone in peace. Acknowledge and give thanks to the original stewards of this land, the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe people, where the footprints of their ancestors are grounded in Mother Nature, where they would hunt and fish as a source of survival, where they would connect to the Great Spirit through the 4 directions, the 4 seasons, and the 4 medicines, balancing themselves with the medicine wheel, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Open the eyes of your heart, chanta ishta, and acknowledge with empathy the historical abominations. Way of life colonized, man's pride stripped of dignity, women, a high crime statistic, and the children. Yes, acknowledge the children. The unspeakable has to be spoken for the wounds to heal. Truth, reconciliation, respect, perspective, and most importantly, love must be reciprocated. Thank you. Now, this is a poem I wrote, especially for this birthday. It seems strange to me that an Indigenous poet would be writing about a Shakespearean poet, but here's what I came up with. It's called A Visit. An Indigenous writer penning about an English poet? I write about Father Sky. He wrote in sonnets. A hawk floats seamlessly. Perhaps Shakespeare's spirit? A 90-year beautiful garden party. Perhaps a visit. To be or not to be? That is the question. To be one with Mother Earth is feeling living energy. To be listening to our ancestors respects their memory. To be in a state of turmoil is to ponder self's fate. To be connected to community is living with less weight. There is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Don't label right or wrong. All my relations know. Share what Creator has provided with everyone, balancing body, spirit, mind, and emotions. The world is a stage, and we are all merely players. To ensure our children are free to play in nature, we need to be caretakers in the circle of life. Think 7 generations before we decide. All that glitters is not gold. Shakespeare warned. Even the rare Juliet rose comes with thorns. Love will protect the land, water, and air. Love will show us the way for everyone to share. I know no ways to mince it in love, but directly to say, I love you.
Thank you very much, Scott, for those words and for creating that special poem for this occasion. I'd now like to call on the chair of the Friends of the Shakespeare Gardens. He needs no introduction, but I'll let you know that now Mr. Reg White will speak to us.
Well, as you know, I don't have to introduce myself, but I am Reg White, chair of Friends of the Shakespeare Garden. We are a support organization for the Board of Park Management. A bit of history as to how we got here. This site was a woolen mill back before 1922. It burned in 1922, and the Duftons would not rebuild because of the cost. Stratford had a wonderful visionary, and that visionary, when he heard that the mill was not going to be restored, all of a sudden he then made sure that he got talking to his friends on city council, because he had an idea. Stratford should have a Shakespeare Garden. And so he worked tirelessly for that, and he even got over to England to get ideas for this garden. However, in that time frame, what happened? The Great Depression, the financial crash, and nothing happened whatsoever for years. And so, because of that depression, there was no garden. However, in 1934, when he realized that the financial situation was starting to improve across North America, he then started lobbying city council. Well, guess what? They gave him the okay. And so in 1934-35, he started with a prestigious landscape organization here in Canada, and they came up with something that the City of Stratford could, in fact, afford. So anyway, then 1936 came, and on this very day in 1936, 90 years ago, the Governor General of Canada was here and dedicated this site, which was pretty exciting for the day to have a Governor General travel from Ottawa. And in 1945, the garden received a dramatic sculpture of William Shakespeare, completing the name of the garden, of course. Now, one thing, for those of you that might have a look at that as you pass today, that has been sculpted by a very important Canadian sculptor. This is actually a museum piece right here in the garden. So in 1979, there was a group of garden enthusiasts and historical people, guess who that was, and they got together here in the gardens, and we thought, because we saw some things that we thought could be improved, and we thought, well, hey, guess what? We should help. And we created an organization that very day, and we called ourselves the Friends of the Shakespeare Garden. So one of the first things we did, we talked to Quinn Malott, and this was in the middle of COVID, of course, And we said, was there ever such a thing as a visitor's brochure? And Quinn said, no, never in the whole years as far as I know. So we created the first visitor's brochure. Then, secondly, a lot of people kept asking us about dates of this and dates of that. So we created a secondary one. So then, what else can I tell you about that? So then, with the greatest of good luck, we got a name of a person about an hour's drive from here who belonged to the Canadian Peony Society. And when I had that lady's name, I called, and I said, do you know Stratford? And she said, yes. Anyway, that took a number of months, but at some point she called me back and said, guess what? The Canadian Peony Society is going to contribute 75 clumps. Now, a clump is not a thing like this. A clump is something like that. And those clumps, if you went up to Cosines to buy them, you'd be paying a small fortune. Anyway, so that lady is here, and I can't see her, but she's here somewhere. And where is she? All right. And Joan Campbell, thank you very, very much. We are honored not only to have you here, but we're honored to have taken part in a project that you people came up with. So, a few words?
Yes, I guess.
Just a few.
Just a few.
Yeah.
I have a reputation for talking too much. I just have to say, the request for support came at the right time. It hit the right board, and we had resources available. And so over a 3-year period, we were able to supply a whole lot of peony roots. And it was my pleasure to coordinate that process, to do the selections, to do the buying, to work with the hort guy here to lay it out, plant and stuff. And it was a pleasure to work with the friends. And I'm so glad that I have a good friend here in Reg. So
Thank you.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you very kindly. So, why this sort of important from our point of view is that this was the first substantive donation of plant material in the garden's history, as far as we can determine by going through the archival material. So anyway, that brings my story up more or less to this point. Lori?
Thank you, Reg.
Okay, you go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, Reg. We appreciate your leadership and your passion for the gardens and for the city. I'd now like to call on Mayor Martin Ritzman to come forward and say a few words, please.
Good afternoon and welcome. I'm wearing a couple of hats today, and the first is that, and Lori, thank you for all you do in our community for promoting history here in Stratford. So I'm wearing a couple of hats. The first response I want to share with those individuals gathered here today is from MP John Nader. And he starts by saying, good afternoon. On behalf of the Parliament of Canada, and you have to imagine John saying these words, I am honored to recognize the 90th anniversary of Stratford Historical Gardens. I regret that I'm unable to join you in person as I am in Ottawa this week. For the past 90 years, the Shakespeare Gardens has been a special place in the heart of Stratford, delighting both residents and visitors alike. This beautiful sanctuary beside the river connects us to the history that has made Stratford the city it is today. From the plants and the flowers that arrived from Stratford, England, and are mentioned in the plays and sonnets of William Shakespeare, to the striking tower, once part of the Dufton Woolen Mill, that stood on this site. These gardens commemorate the art and industry that have defined our city for generations. I'd like to thank Reg White, the friends and volunteers who support the gardens, the city, and all donors for their hard work and dedication to making it possible for us to celebrate this milestone today. Congratulations, signed MP John Nader. So let's give John a little round of applause. And I'll add my thoughts as well, first and foremost to the Orr family. I mean, what a legacy. There's so many fingerprints in our history of the Orr family that we can never say thank you enough. So thank you for being here, and thank you for not only what you've done in the community in the past, but what you continue to do in the present as well. But I'd like to take this opportunity and welcome Reg forward and present this certificate from the City of Stratford. Can you join me up here? I can. Thank you. And you can put your hat on if you're more comfortable, or I'd wear that too. I'd wear that sombrero. So it reads, on behalf of the City of Stratford, I am pleased to celebrate the Shakespeare Gardens 90th anniversary, and it's dated here May the 28th, 2026, signed humbly by myself, Mayor Martin Ritzma, City of Stratford.
Oh, thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you, sir.
Can we do a little photo? Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Hold that. Get that one hand on there. Reg,
Oh, yeah.
hang on to that. You own this one.
That concludes our formal remarks and our official ceremony, but I want to thank everyone for attending today, for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. And we have lots of cake, so please enjoy another piece of cake and have some time to mix and mingle and meet everyone around. So thank you again for coming and for sharing in this special day.